Hello, writers and authors, and welcome back to Clever Writer by Heather, where we dream big, create stories that inspire others. Now, we're going to be continuing our grammar and punctuation series on the use of brackets in our writing. In my previous videos, we had looked at where to place the periods when using quotation marks and abbreviations. And then we discussed where to begin the next sentence after the period, whether it was one space or two. And we looked at the history behind that. If you're looking to go a little deeper in those topics, then I invite you to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Go ahead and click that button and hit the bell. That way you can stay updated on my latest videos and my writing tips. Okay, so why do we even care about the correct uses of grammar and punctuation in our writing? I mean, we have access to all these different AI editing softwares out there. All we have to do is take our document and just run it through one of those softwares of our choosing. I do the same thing. There are great programs out there. To be a writer, you have to embrace the whole process, and it helps if you can enjoy the entire writing process. In the beginning of my desire to be a published author, I hated editing. I was really intimidated by it because I didn't think I was any good at it. But in my formative years of teaching, my training helped me hone those skills I was lacking. Also, listening to my editor's critiques, it helped me to develop more as a writer, to hone my craft. I strongly advise you to listen to your editors. They are there to help you to become the best writer you can be in the marketplace. My favorite part of writing is actually creating the story. It's not the editing. But I know editing is essential in my writing process, and I've learned to embrace that part of the writing process. I encourage you to do the same. As we learned earlier, punctuation creates pauses and accentuation in the flow of the conception of ideas in our storytelling. Our jobs as writers is to ensure that our readers understand the message we want to convey in our stories, because if we don't, we could lose readership and set ourselves up for frustration. In today's video, we will be looking at brackets usage, both squared and rounded, and where to place the punctuation around them. Using this writing technique will help improve your writing and hopefully increase your writing confidence. Sometimes the most challenging part of writing is just getting started. Whether you're penning your first story or you're opening up a blank page after your last document, don't let any of that discourage you from writing your story. Just write. Here's some inspiration from best-selling author Jodi Picoult, and she says, "You can edit a bad page, but you can't edit a blank page." All right, let's dive into learning some writing techniques of using brackets in our writing. Okay, let's begin with our first question. What are brackets and what are they used for? There are two forms of brackets we use in writing: curved brackets and squared. The curved brackets are what we know as parenthesis. A parenthesis is a rounded punctuation mark used to set off a remark that is not directly related to the discussion's main topic. In writing, we use this punctuation in pairs. We call this parentheses, which is the plural form of parenthesis. We use parentheses to enclose information that clarifies or is used as an aside, an afterthought. The information inside the parentheses can help the writer to convey a little more clarity of thought to the story at hand. Note to writers. It is common for writers to use parentheses in first-person narration for witty thoughts or amusing asides. You want to use this practice sparingly in fiction writing. As an author, we don't want to appear as an intruder in the story. We could unintentionally prevent the reader from getting lost in the fictional characters and their adventure, so use it with caution. It's more suitable to use this technique of using parentheses in non-fiction writing. Okay, let's view some examples of proper usage of parentheses in writing and the placement of punctuation around them. Example: I finally answered after taking 5 minutes to think that I thought he was wrong. Notice the extra information inside the parentheses. You could write this as a complete sentence without the use of the information in the parentheses. This technique shows that the character's viewpoint is aware that she's speaking to the reader, allowing them in on a little extra information. In this case, it helped to show how much time had gone by in the sentence. It took 5 minutes to think before she could answer him. Now, if the information in parentheses ends a sentence, then the period goes after the parentheses. Here's an example. She gave him an honest answer. It's hopeless. All right, do periods ever go inside parentheses? Let's take a look at another example. Read this book. You'll be amazed. Where should we place the period in this example? Periods go inside parentheses only if an entire sentence is inside the parentheses. What about using commas around parentheses? Where do you put them? Good question. Let's find out. Commas are more likely to follow parentheses than precede them. Let's look at the incorrect and correct usage of commas around parentheses. When she got back to her dormitory, it was already dark outside. She finished her homework. Notice the comma after the word dormitory. This would be considered incorrect placement of the comma around parentheses. Now let's look at the correct way to write the sentence. When she got back to her dormitory, it was already dark outside. She finished her homework. See the placement of the comma? Okay, on to our next question. Squared brackets? What's that? Brackets are interruptions. However, they are not to be confused with parentheses. So, what do we mean by interruptions? It doesn't necessarily mean to interrupt another person speaking. Square brackets are used to enclose words added by a speaker to clarify the sentence situation. He, the firefighter, can't prove they are responsible for burning the building down. The firefighter lets us know as readers who he is in the subject part of the sentence, clarifying who was the one who couldn't prove they burned the building down. Squared brackets are also used to explain or comment on a quotation. They can help clarify the meaning in a quote without changing any of the original words. Like this. She said, "If you make me wear that thing, the ugly hat to class, I'm ditching." We wouldn't know what the thing was she didn't want to wear in this sentence. The information inside the bracket gives us insight into the thing that was an ugly hat. Here's another example. Lexi held hands with her boyfriend, Cody. Again, we get insight into whose hand Lexi was holding. Okay, next question. Where do you place the final punctuation if the brackets are at the end of a sentence? Destiny testified that it was the last time she saw them, the artifacts. In this case, where would you put the period? Inside the bracket or outside? Brackets are used at the end of a sentence. We will place the period outside. Note to writers. Square brackets aren't something that fiction writers often use, but they are commonly used in nonfiction writing. In keeping with these new learning techniques you learned today, you'll be on your way to boldly step out writing your story. I hope this video helped you to gain more understanding in using brackets in your writing. Today, we learned about rounded brackets and squared brackets, and where to place them in regard to punctuations around the brackets. Leave a comment below if this video helped you out. And remember, when those doubting days come along, look for some inspiration And this is what Jodi Picoult said. You can always edit a bad page, but you can't edit a blank page. So don't let anything discourage you. Just get started, grab your pen, grab your laptop, and just write. Until next time, happy writing.